Functions of criminal trial courts. So, criminal trial courts have three main functions. First one is provision of justice. Justice is defined as rendering to each person his or her due. Kumbaga, ibibigay mo sa tao kung ano yung nararapat para sa kanya. Yun ang ibig sabihin ng justice. Inherent approaches as to how best to provide justice. The first one is legal justice. Legal, ibig sabihin, gagamitin natin ang batas, which emphasizes the standardization of the rules binding of all persons to them and the equal punishment of all those who disobey them. Legal justice is thus equivalent to the notion of equal justice under the law. Ang ibig sabihin nga niyan is we get justice, nakukuha natin kung ano yung nararapat para sa atin dahil nasunod yung batas. Second one is justice of dispensation. Under this approach, exceptions to the enforcement of laws are made where warranted to avoid unnecessary hardships. Thus, this approach can be characterized as one of the tempering justice with mercy or individualizing justice. Kumbaga, eto naman, nakukuha yung hustisya kasi may mga pagkakataong hindi ibinibigay sa atin o hindi pinapataw sa atin kung ano yung nakalagay sa batas. Sabi nga dito, tempering justice with mercy. Ibig sabihin, nagbibigay tayo ng hustisya dahil medyo naawa tayo sa isang tao. Or individualizing justice. Kumbaga, oo, nakalagay sa batas na dapat parusahan ng isang tao, pero dahil nakikita natin yung individual situation, hindi na natin ibibigay dun sa tao yung kaparusahan na individualized na. Kumbaga, in a way, pinili natin kung kanino ibibigay o i-apply yung batas. That's justice of dispensation. Pinili mo kung kanino mo i-apply yung batas. Kaya, nakakuha ka ng hustisya. Number 2, adjudication of defendants. This function consists of two phases. Yung unang phase is providing a fair hearing for the prosecution. Kasi 'di ba, ang magpipresenta ng mga ebidensya, ang magpo-prove ng guilt beyond reasonable doubt is the prosecution. So they have to have a fair hearing. And then the second one is rendering a verdict and adjudication to the defendant in accordance with the facts and the law. Kumbaga, eto na yung phase kung saan magbibigay na ng desisyon si judge. At yung desisyon na yun should be in accordance with the law. Number 3, sentencing of those adjudicated guilty. Pagbibigay ng sentensya doon sa mga sinabihan ni judge na guilty sila, mga nahatulan ni judge na guilty sila. Statutory law stipulates maximums to which persons can be sentenced and usually provides minimums but leaves very broad areas of discretion to sentencing to judges. Ibig sabihin, ang batas nakalagay naman kung ano yung maximum na pwedeng ipataw doon sa akusado or doon na sa offender dahil guilty na nga siya. And meron din namang mga minimum sa bawat batas na nalalabag nila. Such discretion had led many to point out the lack of consistency from court to court and from case to case since most judges view their role in sentencing as one of individualizing justice. Hindi raw nagkakaroon ng standard kasi bawat korte magkakaiba sila ng ibinibigay na parusa. So parang nai-individualize nga yung justice. Yun ang sinasabi dito. Okay, next is principles of justice. In attempting to provide justice while processing criminal cases and defendants, trial courts are expected to adhere to two fundamental principles. First one is the presumption of the defendant's innocence. Innocent until proven guilty ang sinasabi dito. Number 2, the right of the defendant to full due process of law, presumption of innocence. Ibig sabihin, ang isang defendant hanggat hindi sinasabi ni judge na guilty siya ay considered innocent. At kung ang isang tao ay inosente, madami siyang mga karapatan na natatanggap. Kasi nga hindi pa siya guilty, 'di ba? So, lahat ng due process, yung mga prosesong pwedeng mai-apply doon sa tao, kailangan maibigay sa kanya kasi hindi pa naman nga siya guilty. Presumed innocent pa rin siya. The presumption of innocence doctrine states that any defendant is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. It is the most common and fundamental principle of criminal procedure. This principle is the basis for the rule that the court shall not convict a defendant and until he or she is proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt. So masasabi lang natin guilty beyond reasonable doubt ang isang defendant kapag sinabi na ni judge ng korte na siya nga ay guilty. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused is presumed innocent until the contrary is proved. This presumption of innocence is a guarantee that no person shall be convicted of a crime except upon or unless his guilt is established by proof beyond reasonable doubt. which is more than just a preponderance of evidence sufficient to win in a civil case. If you can remember, preponderance of evidence, paramihan lang ng ebidensya. Pero in criminal cases, hindi sapat na maraming ebidensya. Ang kailangan is the quality of each evidence, which is sufficient to say that that offender is actually guilty of the crime. Its purpose is to balance the scales in what would otherwise be an uneven contest between the lone individual pitted against the government and all the resources, authority, and influence at its command. Kasi kung iisipin mo, yung offender, isang tao, kalaban niya ang buong gobyerno kasi nga ang prosecution, they are representing the government. So parang binabalance nga raw yung scales. Kaya ang tinitignan is the quality of the evidence, the facts that these pieces of evidence prove. Hindi yung paramihan lang ng ebidensya. This means that the entire burden of proof rests with the state or prosecution. The defendant need prove nothing. In other words, the defendant can decline to take the stand and testify in his own behalf. Wala raw kailangang patunayan yung defendant. Sa totoo nga, hindi naman siya required to take the stand kasi meron siyang karapatang manahimik, the right to remain silent. In addition, the defense does not even have to put on a case if it believes sufficient reasonable doubts have been raised during the presentation of the state's case. Kasi 'di ba, kung maalala ninyo, ang flow kasi ng trial is that mauuna ang prosecution na i-present lahat ng pieces of evidence na meron sila, and then susunod si defendant, tsaka pa lang niya i-present lahat ng pieces of evidence na meron siya. Kung dito pa lang, sa pagpresenta pa lang ng state, ng prosecution, ang dami ng proof na meron talagang reasonable doubt, hindi na niya kailangan ipakita pa yung case niya. Kumbaga, pwede na siyang hindi mag-present. Like in the case of PDD, hindi na nag-present yung defense. Kumbaga, pinatapos lang nila yung prosecution, then nag-rest na rin yung defense. Due process of law. It is the responsiveness to the supremacy of reason and obedience to the dictates of justice. It is the embodiment of the sporting idea of fair play. Yun ang ibig sabihin ng due process. May patas na laban. It means a procedure which hears before it condemns, proceeds upon inquiry, and renders judgment only after a fair trial. Yan, lahat ng mga yan, ibig sabihin ng due process. The Constitution provides the basis for due process. It states that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law. So, due process of law includes, number 1, protection against self-incrimination. It means protection from being required to become witnesses against themselves. Pag sinabi kasing self-incrimination, from the word incriminate, crime. So, ang dating, pinapatunayan mo yung krimen mo. That's self-incrimination. Hindi ka required. Actually, yun na nga, meron kang protection against self-incrimination. Hindi mo dapat i-incriminate o ilagay sa panganib yung sarili mo dahil doon sa krimen na inaakusa laban sa iyo. Hindi ka required bilang isang defendant na mag-testify laban sa sarili mo. It is important not only because it means a defendant need not testify in a trial, but also because it relates to the matter of confessions and their admissibility as evidence. A confession that a judge rule not entirely voluntary may be suppressed in the same manner as evidence the court rules is illegally seized. So, ang sinasabi dito, ang isang confession ay pwedeng ma-rule out as admissible na ebidensya sa korte. Kasi baka pinilit siya na aminin o magbigay ng confession sa korte. Yun ang ibig sabihin dito. Kaya nga, meron tayong protection against self-incrimination. So, pwedeng hindi tanggapin ni judge yung confession na yun. This protection is limited to prohibition against compulsory testimonial self-incrimination, extricating from defendant's own lips against his will an admission of his guilt. It extends to the production of the accused of documents, chattels, or other objects demanded from him. For then, he is compelled to make a statement, express or implied, as to the identity of the articles produced. The refusal of a person to produce a specimen of his handwriting is also included within the privilege. The reason is that writing is not a purely mechanical act. It requires the application of intelligence and attention and is equivalent to testimonial compulsion. So, ang sinasabi dito, ang isang defendant ay hindi required magbigay ng handwriting sample niya. Kasi, hindi naman yun mechanical act. kailangan mong gamitin ang isip mo, kailangan nito ng attention mo para makapagsulat ka ng maayos. So, kapag ang isang tao ay pinilit na magsulat, magbigay ng kanyang handwriting specimen, it's as if pinilit na siyang mag-testify. So, pwedeng hindi rin tanggapin ng korte yun. That's part of the protection against self-incrimination. However, there is no violation of this protection where the accused is forced to discharge morphine from his mouth. Pinilit daw alisin yung drugs na nasa bibig niya. That's not self-incrimination. The accused is compelled to place his foot on a piece of paper to secure his footprint kasi hindi niya namang ginamitan ng utak yun eh. Inapak niya lang yung paa niya. So, ganun din kapag kukunin ng fingerprint mo. Hindi self-incrimination yon kapag nilagay mo yung paa mo sa papel or kapag kinuha yung fingerprint mo. The accused is compelled to be photographed and to remove his garments and his shoes. Pinicturan ka para sa mugshot mo, pinaalis sa'yo yung damit mo, that's not self-incrimination. Wala kang inaamin sa pagkuha ng picture sa'yo. Where a woman accused of adultery is compelled to permit her body to be examined by physicians to determine if she is pregnant. So kapag ang isang babae daw ay inakusahan ng adultery at kapag kailangan siyang ma-examine ng mga physician para malaman kung buntis nga siya, then that's not self-incrimination. In other words, pwedeng ma-examine yung babae na inakusahan ng adultery ng mga doktor para ma-determine nga kung buntis siya. And then, the voluntary confession of the accused is admitted at the trial. So, if the admission was voluntary, then there's no violation of the protection against self-incrimination rule. Number 2 is protection against unreasonable searches and seizures. Ang requirement nga kasi, di ba, is a merong search warrant for law enforcers to be able to search your property. Number 3 is protection against double jeopardy. The 1987 Constitution prohibits a defendant from being twice put in jeopardy of life or limb for the same offense. Kaya nga, kung ikaw ay nahatulan na sa isang krimen at kunwari sinabi ni judge not guilty, hindi pwedeng humanap ng ibang judge at isampa yung parehas na kaso because that would be considered as double jeopardy. It prohibits the filing of the same charge against the person for which he or she was once acquitted or convicted. Hindi pwedeng twice. Pero kung bagong kaso ito, of course, pwede yang isampa. The guarantee protects against the perils of a second punishment as well as a second trial for the same offense. Number 4, right to have a speedy, impartial, and public trial. Speedy trial means one that can be had as soon as possible after a person is indicted and within such time as the prosecution with reasonable diligence could prepare for it. It should be a trial conducted according to fixed rules, regulations, and proceedings of law, free from vexatious, capricious, and oppressive delays. Ang ibig lang sabihin nito, karapatan niya ng isang akusado na magkaroon ng speedy trial na makapagsimula na kaagad nung trial. Impartial trial implies an absence of actual bias in the trial of cases. Impartial. Wala kang pinapartihan. Wala kang kinikilingan. Walang bias. For example, the Maguindanao Massacre. So originally, ang may jurisdiction doon sa case is of course Maguindanao. But because of the influence of the Ampatuans, hindi kinonduct ang trial doon sa Maguindanao. So, it was transferred here in NCR. Because meron ngang karapatan na magkaroon ng impartial trial. And then, public trial. It's not of necessity one to which the whole public is admitted, but is one so far open to all as that of the accused's friends and relatives and others who may be inclined to watch the proceedings in order to see if justice is intelligently and impartially administered so that they may have the opportunity to do so. So, pag sinabing public trial, hindi naman required na lahat ay makakita doon sa trial. Of course, ang isang courtroom ay may limit lang kung gaano kadami ang pwedeng makapasok. Ang ibig sabihin lang ng public trial is that it is open to all. Kumbaga, may ibang mga taong pwedeng makapanood noong trial na yon para makita kung talagang naibibigay nga ba yung hustisya. Number 5, right to have a compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in the defendant's favor. It means the state's power of subpoena to bring in defense witnesses. So, ang ibig sabihin nito, merong process para sa mga kukunin na witnesses ng defense. Number 6, right to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation against him. It means that the information filed against the accused must be very specific in describing the statute violated and its nature. So, ang sinasabi dito, yung information, ito yung fina-file ng prosecution sa court, 'di ba? Kailangan naka-specify doon sa information kung ano yung actual na batas na na-violate. Hindi pwedeng, basta may nagawa siyang krimen. Hindi pwede yung ganon. Kailangan ilagay yung actual law that was violated by the accused. And karapatan nga itong malaman nung accused. Hindi pwedeng pupunta siya sa court na hindi niya alam kung bakit siya nagpunta doon o bakit siya pupunta doon. Number 7, right of assistance of counsel for one's defense. The court must allow the appearance of a defense counsel and must prove indigent defendants with attorney. So, ang ibig sabihin nito, ang bawat accused ay may karapatan na makakuha ng sarili niyang abogado. Kaso, hindi naman lahat ng akusado may kakayahang kumuha ng sariling abogado. So, ang mangyayari, yung government magpo-provide siya ng abogado para doon sa accused. And that will come from PAO, the Public Attorney's Office. Number 8 is protection from cruel and unusual punishment. The infliction of tortures, beatings, and injuries are prohibited. Common sense naman, bawal ang mag-torture. At kapag tinorture mo ang isang tao, then pwede ka rin kasuhan, syempre. Number 9, protection against excessive bails and excessive fines. So ano ba ang bail? Bail is the security given for the release of a person in custody of the law, furnished by him or a bondsman. So, dalawa ang pwedeng magbayad ng bail. Pwedeng yung tao mismo, yung inaakusahan, or a bondsman. Conditioned upon his appearance before any court as required under the conditions specified by the rule. So, pag sinabing bail, hindi ka makukulong muna sa jail. Kasi 'di ba dapat nasa jail ka. Pero kapag ang offense bailable, pwedeng wala ka muna doon. Pwedeng nandun ka muna sa inyo. Pero kapag merong trial date, kapag nag-set ng schedule si judge, kailangan mong pumunta. Kapag hindi ka nagpunta, o syempre wala na yung bail mo, aarestuhin ka na. And wala na rin yung pera. A person is in the custody of the law when he has been either arrested or otherwise deprived of his freedom, or when he has voluntarily submitted himself to the jurisdiction of the court by surrendering to the proper authorities. All persons except those charged with offenses punishable by reclusion perpetua when evidence of guilt is strong shall before conviction be bailable by sufficient sureties or be released on recognizance as may be provided by law. So basically, if the offense is punishable by reclusion perpetua, non-bailable yun. Forms of bail. These are the accepted types of security that an accused person can provide to the court to secure their provisional liberty. Again, pag sinabing bail, provisional liberty lang yan. Magkakaroon ka ng liberty, kumbaga magiging malaya ka, pero merong mga provisions. So ano-ano yung mga security na pwedeng tanggapin ng court? Pag sinabing security, ito yung pera. Okay, so there are 4 forms of bail. Merong cash deposit, corporate surety, property bond, and recognizance. So, pag sinabing cash deposit, obviously, cash, pera, a sum of money in the amount fixed by the court is deposited directly with the clerk of court or a duly authorized collecting officer. So, si court ang magsasabi kung magkano ang magiging bail mo. Magdidepende kasi yan sa kakayahan mo eh. Kung ikaw ay milyonaryo versus isang, sabihin natin, tricycle driver, magkaiba sila ng magiging bail kahit pa na parehas sila ng krimen na nagawa. So, the key feature of cash deposit is that it is fully refundable upon compliance with all court conditions and final termination of the case. So, kapag nasunod niya lahat ng conditions ng court at kapag sinabi sa judgment na not guilty siya, then i-refund sa kanya yung bail na yon. And then another form of bail is corporate surety. This is a bond secured by an insurance or bonding company duly accredited by the Supreme Court. The company acts as a guarantor for the accused's appearance. So, parang utang ito sa isang company. Yung company ang magbabayad ng bail para sa'yo. Tapos siya ang maniniguro din na dadating ka doon sa court date na sineset ni judge. So, ang key feature nito is that the accused pays a premium to the company. So, may bayad ito doon sa company. Which is, of course, non-refundable. Bayad nga eh. And the company posts the bond amount. So, parang utang nga siya. Tapos may interest. Parang ganun ang dating niya. And then we have property bond, another form of bail. A real property, land, and or buildings owned by the accused or another surety is pledged as security. So, pwedeng yung titulo ng lupa ninyo, pwede yan na ipang-post mo ng bail. The property's value must be sufficient to cover the bail amount. The key feature of this is that it requires the annotation of a lien on the certificate of title filed with the Registry of Deeds to secure the bond. So, for example, ang bail mo is 50,000 pesos. Tapos, meron kang lupa na worth 50,000 pesos din. So, yung titulo ng lupa na yun, pwede mong ibigay sa court as your bail. So again, real property lang ang pwede, hindi kahit anong property. So pwedeng lupa, pwedeng mga building, pwede ring bahay. Of course, kailangan nakapangalan sa'yo. Okay, and then the last form of bail is recognizance, an obligation of record entered into before some court or magistrate to do a particular act such as to appear in court without any financial security. So the key feature is primarily granted to indigent persons accused of minor offenses or in circumstances provided by law. So in recognizance, walang pera na involved. Meron ka lang gagawin. Ang kailangan mong gawin, of course, magpakita doon sa korte. Kapag hindi ka nagpakita sa korte, then yun, aarestuhin ka. And eto nga, ibinibigay primarily to indigent person sa mga taong walang kakayahan talaga mag-post ng bail. Walang any financial capacity to post bail. Next is types of bail. The right to bail is a fundamental constitutional right, but its application varies depending on the crime charged and the status of the case. First, bail as a matter of right. This is mandatory. The court must grant bail if the accused meets the conditions provided the offense falls under the following categories. First, before or after conviction by first-level courts. If you can remember, ang first-level courts natin ay mga MTC, Metropolitan Trial Court, Municipal Trial Court in Cities, Municipal Trial Court, or Municipal Circuit Trial Court. Basta, Municipal Trial Court na level, first-level courts, sila ay pwedeng mag-file ng bail before or after conviction. Second is before conviction by the regional trial court. So regional trial court is a second level court already. So for an offense that is not punishable by reclusion perpetua or death, pwedeng mag-file ng bail before conviction. And then the second type of bail is bail as a matter of discretion, conditional. Kumbaga, depende. The court may grant bail only after conducting a hearing and making a finding on the strength of the evidence. First one, offenses punishable by reclusion perpetua or life imprisonment. For capital offenses ito. Bail is discretionary, so depende kay judge. Before conviction, if the evidence of guilt is not strong, a mandatory bail hearing is held, and the prosecution bears the burden of proving the evidence of guilt is strong. If it fails to do so, bail is granted. So kailangan mapatunayan na malakas nga ang ebidensya laban doon sa accused. Kung hindi malakas, then it's possible that the court may grant bail doon sa accused. If the evidence is found to be strong, of course, bail is denied. Second one is post-conviction by the regional trial court. After a conviction by the RTC, bail is generally discretionary, regardless of the penalty imposed, unless the penalty is reclusion perpetua or life imprisonment, in which case bail is usually denied. Bail is granted pending appeal if the court finds the accused is not a flight risk and the appeal is not dilatory. So, ang sinasabi dito, kung hindi naman flight risk yung tao, pwedeng makapag-bail kung papayag si judge after na-convict na siya.